Hello friends, a warm welcome to everyone. In this class, today we are going to discuss about data storage objects, which is one of the 6 info providers available in the system. Data storage object was formerly called as operational data store. So in this class, I will be helping you on how to upload a data from a FlatFile into a data storage object. And subsequently, I will also be teaching about other few techniques which I can cover for DSO. Right. So this is the data that you see, friend. Is the data that we are about to load. It has 5 fields: employee ID, department ID, project ID, number of hours, and salary. So this is the data. So as you know, RSA1 is our first C code. So once you go into RSA1, this is the screen that you will get. So as soon as you go into the RSA1, enter into the info provider. So that info provider other tab you can see on the left. Right click on the top and create your info area first. I'm going to name it as VDSO_IA, and I'm going to give the same in the description, and I'm continuing it. So as a first step, you need to create your info area. Once you have created, you can come down and you can see that the info area is available. Now go to the next tab called info objects. The same info area that you have created should be available here. Okay, there are certain cases where it takes some time to get loaded. In those cases, you can just refresh the system. Here I see we didn't get our info area here. So on the top you can refresh, just like what I did now. Now if you come down and if you check, you can see the info area which is available. So through this info area, we are going to make our further steps. Now all you need to do is right click on the info area and select the info object catalog. So create the info object catalog. Where do we create the info object catalog? We are trying to create the template for this FlatFile. This file has 5 fields, of which 3 were fields which are not subject to any change. There is the last 2 fields are subject to change. So I categorize the first 3 fields into characteristics, and the last 2 fields I categorize them into key figures. So I'll be creating 2 separate templates, in which the first template will hold all the characteristics fields, which is 3, and the second template will hold all the key figures, and which is 2. I mean the 3 characteristic fields are employee ID, department ID, and project ID, and 2 key figure fields are number of hours and salary. So this is what we are going to do. So now I will proceed to create my info object catalog with this info area that I created earlier. Right click, create info object catalog, provide the name as VDSO. I'm just using VDSO as a prefix for all the namings right through this process. IoT is for info object catalog. Here I mean it for characteristics. I'm trying to provide the same value in the description. And below, if you see in the info object type, I'm proceeding with the selection of characters because I'm creating this template for character fields only. I mean the fields which are not subject to any change. So it's always good to activate at the end of each step. So I'm proceeding to activate it. So once activated, I will get the catalog below. Now I will proceed with the second one. Right click, create info object catalog, provide the name as per your convenience. In this case, just be very careful while selecting the info object type. What is closely what info object type I select? Here, the info object type that I am going to select will be key figure, because they are subject to upgradation. I mean they are subject to update. So as I told you, activated. So now I have got both the templates on the left. Now right click on the first template, create the info object. So what do I need to create an info object? I am going to feed the 3 fields into this template. I am going to fill this template with 3 columns: employee ID, department ID, project ID. Right click. So VDSO is my common prefix, and employee ID is the first column that I am going to add. I am trying to give the same in the description, and I will continue once I provided the description. I will continue with my continue icon, which is a tick mark, green color tick mark. I continue. So once I continue, I will get the option for giving my data type and length. So you can also maintain the short description here. So the data type I'm going to select it as character string, and length is going to be 5, and I'll activate it. The data type, whatever I select for all the fields, is just for simplicity, to make the process very simple so that it reaches to you. Now I'm going to create my second info object, which is my department ID, I suppose. Yes, I'm going to give as a department ID. And the same in the long description. Continue. Again, I'm going to select the same characteristic string as the data type. The length will again be 5. And I'll proceed to activate once I'm done with this process. And I'm waiting for my green signal. Yeah, I got it. I'll create the third info object type now, which is going to be project ID. The same prefix, and by PID I mean to say it's a project ID. And I'm creating it. I'll provide the same data type, same length as 5. This is just for convenience, since this characteristic data type will suit all the 3 fields. I'm selecting all the same. Now I'm going to create info object for my key figure template. Now here, when I create an info object, you have to be very careful while assigning the data type. Provide the comment prefix, number of hours. I'll provide the same in the description. Now when I continue and see the data that's available data type, you will find entire different set of data types available for key figures. Because since I have given it as a key figure, my data types that are available here will be different based upon the key figure. So the number of hours is always an integer. So I am just selecting an integer and I am proceeding to activate it. And I am selecting integer because number of hours what will maintain the sheet is an integer. And next I am going for creation of salary. Salary, the data type which I actually need to select is amount. But if you see in the available data type, I will show you. Just provide the details and get it. The available data type, you see there is an amount, but when you provide amount, you must provide a currency field for reference. So just to avoid those complexity, or just to make this process very simple, I am going to continue by providing integer data type for salary also, so that our process is quite simple. So I provide integer data type for salary also, and I proceed to activate it. So once I have activated, we are good with 2 templates, and both the templates have their respective fields, and we are done with creation of info object tablet. Right? Now going to the next step. In the next step, we are going to the resource system tab. So in this tab, you have to create a FlatFile. You can either create from the top, right click and create, where you can select the FlatFile radio button, or you can directly open the file, right click and directly create a FlatFile. I would like to prefer the former method. Right click, create, go to the FlatFile radio button, continue, and this particular step you have to provide the logical system name and source system name. I am trying to maintain the same values at both the systems and the both the fields. And be very careful, this particular step is quite a serious process. I mean, it's a time consuming step when compared to all other steps. So be patient. It's basically based upon your system availability. So just be patient. So it takes some time to create your FlatFile. So taking some time, appreciate your patience. I think we are getting closer. Yeah, I think we have created it. Source system has successfully created. Now if we go to the file, yeah, here it is. So this was the file that we have created. So what you need to do, you need to just double click on the FlatFile and see the movement of the cursor in the left side node. It will move from your source system to data source. All you need to do is just double click on the FlatFile that we have just created under source system. So once you double click, the system will automatically navigate to a different node, which will be data source. See, left side it has moved to data source and we have come to a different screen. So in this screen, now we have to proceed to create our application component. So right click and create your application component and provide the relevant naming. We are following a prefix of DSO now. So provide AC, which will be abbreviated as application component. Provide the same in the description. So yes, so we are trying to create an application component. So once we have created the application component, it should be available in the list here. Here it is at the last. So right click on the application component now and create your data source. So this data source is going to be the container where you are going to load the data from the FlatFile into the system, right? So name it z_DSO. So data source, yes, of course, yes, it's going to be a transaction data. Remember that. So continue with it. So you will be creating a data source. Provide the short description, medium description, long description as per your wish. I would prefer to give the same values here. By loading data into the data source, you just mean that you are making the data available at the PSA level, personal staging area. Move to the next step. Here the data process is going to be a full upload. Yes, direct process. I am not allowing any DTPs. And in the adapter field, I am just telling that the data is being loaded from a local workstation. Yes, it's being loaded from a local workstation. And in the file name, that's the field where we have to load our file. Now proceed, search for the file. Where is my info? Yeah, here it is. So the header rows to be ignored is the next field, which I will be providing value as 1. Because in the file we have the first row as the heading row, and I am allowing the system to ignore it because I have already prepared a template for them. So in the form of catalog, we have seen it. And then, yeah, see here, this is the first row, EADBID. I'm going to ignore it. That's why header rows to be ignored. I'm just avoiding that. So coming to the next data format, yes, it's always a CSV file that we are going to load. So that's why I'm selecting the relevant data format. Data separator, I prefer comma as a data separator. I'll let you know where this comma comes into play. In SPSS, I always prefer double quotes. Now go to the proposal, click your load example data. You can just see the data here. You can see a comma there, which is separating each values of each row. So that's why I give a separator as comma. So here you are just ensuring the steps, whatever you have done till here are good, and we are good to go. If the data is getting loaded here in the example data, it means we are so far so good. So going to the next tab field, just check whether all the fields are maintained in the internal format. The format should always be internal. If it's external or some other format, just changing to internal. Since we have done all the steps till now rightly, and the format is being maintained right here. So once this preliminary checks are done, and you are convenient or comfortable with this step, you can go to the next step and read your preview data. The system will access to activate it. So here we are bringing the data to your data source. Now the actual SAP system has the data. From your FlatFile, your system has the data. Here is the data. So you have brought the data. Now you have to schedule this data to be moved into CSV. How do we do that? Right click, create your info package. Right click on the data source and create the info package. So this info package from the data source that you create will do the process of loading the data to the CSV table. So right click and create the info package. So once we have created, provide the name. We are following the prefix of DSO. So IP will get abbreviated as info package, and trying to create an info package, just have a check. You will get a green signal as check carried out okay in the left at the bottom. So we are good till now. Now proceed for the extraction. Once you got the signal, you can proceed to the extraction tab. See whether all the values that we filled earlier are being maintained here. Just do the preliminary checks here. Yeah, it's a PSA load and it's a full upload, and schedule it. In the schedule tab, you will be having an option for execute start. Yeah. So through this process, we are bringing data to the PSA table, because no data in VI can escape from the PSA table. PSA table will be the initial slab where you can load the data. That is why it is very important to load data into your PSA table at first. For that, we are loading the data into the data source and then bringing into the PSA table. So we are done with the data load at PSA table level. Now, moving on. Once this is completed, go back to your info provider and go to the relevant info area that we have created. Right click and create your data storage object. Here is where we are going to create our actual data storage object. Provide the relevant naming, whatever is this. We are providing this name, and I'm just going to copy the same in the description field, and I'm creating it. So once the data storage object is created, now I'll go to the info object catalog, click on it, select the info object catalog, and I'm going to set out the relevant fields that I have created in the catalog and arrange those fields to the data storage object that I created, so that I'm preparing a particular template for the DSO. Now the template which I have created earlier, it's going to be helpful, and I'll again the same template to my DSO. Select the first template, info object characteristics, which will contain the characteristic fields, the fields which are not subject to any change. So click it, drag it, and drop it in the field called key fields. Key fields are the fields that are not subject to any change. So individually drag all three fields and drop it into the key field. So I'm dropping my first field, now the second field, now I'll drop my third field. So all my characteristic key fields are dropped into key fields. Now I'm going to select the second catalog, and now I will drag and drop my key figures into data fields. So my data fields node or folder will hold my key figures column. So once I done, I'll proceed to activate. Let it get activated. We are good so far, and we can proceed further. Let's give the system some time for getting activated. So our DSO is getting activated. Hold on, still we didn't load any data. Yeah, our DSO has got activated. Now we have prepared our container with sufficient columns, with required columns to be more precise. Now moving on, right click on the DSO and create transformation. So through transformation, what we are going to do? Before that, select the relevant object type. Object type, yes, we are going to load data from the data source. So provide the data source as the object type and provide the data source name here. If you are not familiar with the data source name, whatever we have provided, you can just use F4 help and just find the F4 help so that you become familiar with it. And the source system will get filled automatically since we are taking from the F4. Else you need to name them individually, both data source and source system. So once you have created the transformation, here we are trying to map the fields of the data source with the fields of the DSO that we have created, right? So we have already loaded the data in the data source. So the data source will have certain 5 columns. Now I have created a template from the DSO. So I am going to map the fields from the data source. I am going to map it to my data storage object. So my employee ID to my employee ID. Just to click on it and drag and end it at the right. Again, the second field, department ID. Click, drag, bring it to the right. 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 Yes. With this, my transformation is complete. So once my transformation is complete, you can just activate, and once you have activated it, you must get a green signal confirming that the transformation is successful. And yeah, it is successful. And also you can see a pattern, a different folder here. Transformation activated successful. Now you can see a folder for data transfer process. This is the place. Create the data transfer process. Just have a check on these things and continue. So here is the place where actually the data is going to get loaded. In extraction tab, there is an extraction mode. Make it as a full update. I will explain you what's full and delta. So extraction mode is going to be full data because I am uploading the data from the data source at once. So all the data are being pushed at once, right? So this is the only thing that we need to do in this extraction tab. Now, once we are done with this extraction tab, we can move to our update tab. See, in this file, whatever values are here in this data, okay, all this data are being moved to my system at once. I have moved it to data source at once, and again from data source I am moving it to DSO at once. The difference between full load and delta load is like full load is your initial load and delta load is the subsequent load being made. Right? I will cover also that. Now you can see the value here. It's 1, 10, 100, 50, 5,000 for the first row. So the same value I'm going to copy it. The same value is going to get copied. Now go to the DSO. Our extraction tab is full now. My extraction mode is going to be full. So once your extraction tab, you are good with the extraction tab, you can move to the update tab and get extraction here. Here it is from TSA. You can see at the bottom, right? So go to the update. Just provide the error handling. I always prefer the error handling method of 2. You can select anything, just in error handling way. I would always refer green, white, error stack, update valid record. So you can provide any of the error handling methods as per your convenience or requirement. So I would like to prefer the second one. So just ignore this error. This is purely because of my configuration problem, my own system configuration. Just ignore it. So once you are done with the update, go to the execute button. You can see the execute button is disabled now. So you have to activate the system once. Now you will get ignore the warning. You will get this execute button enabled. Click on it. I will command the system to execute in background. So once it's executed, just follow the process. Give it as yes. Yes, it's all being here. So with this, we can confirm that our data has been transferred properly into DSO. Now, how do we check it? That's again a tricky process. Now, in case of DSO, you will be having 3 disk tables. Okay? For that, first right click on the DSO and select the manage. Now, this is the request tab. In here you can find the request ID. Go to the contents tab. This is the request ID. This is the request that was used. Go to the contents tab. In the contents tab, you can find 3 different buttons: new data, active data, and change log. Initially, whatever data you have loaded into a DSO, it will always be as new data. If you go to this active data and check the number of entries, it's going to be 0. Similarly, if you go to this change log and you see the number of entries, it's going to be 0. Which means that data is actually not typically present in the DSO. Now if you go to new data and check the number of entries, it will have 5 entries, which is the entries that we have loaded. You can also check the entries. You can see the entries being presented. Now, always the data whatever we have done will be there. Go to the request tab, click on activate, select the request type which was used, and then click on the start button at the bottom. So once you click on start button, now the data would actually move from your new data table into your active data table. So this is where you are making the data physically present in the DSO. Keep on refreshing until this record table vanishes from this menu, because it means that if the record area has gone, it means that if the record area has gone, it means that our data has been successfully moved from new data into our active data. Yeah, it has gone. So now the data has been moved. Now close this particular window, and now again you can check the values on all the 3 tables. Now let's do it. So yeah, go to the contents tab. Now check the data as new data. Now here it's 0, right? Coming back, go to the active data, click on here. Now the entry should be 5. Bingo. We have got it. We have got all the 5 entries. Now if you want, you can check the entries. Now go back and check the entries in change log. Yes, you can check the entries in change log. Again 5 entries. Now you can check the number of entries also. So the change log will actually provide the updates that are being made. The reason for keeping the data and new data first and then moving to active data is like to avoid duplicates. The system internally does that. That's why it's being kept in the new data first, and when you load it into the active data, it will just avoid the duplicate entries, and if there is any updation, it will do that, those things. Just to do these preliminary operations, in DSO we deal with 3 different tables. And now right click on the DSO and display data. If you go select all the fields for selection and select all the fields and execute, clear out the entry. Now this is another way of checking whether data has been loaded successfully into DSO. You can also click the DSO and click on the display data flow. So if you can select upwards or downwards, whatever you wish. So once you click on the data flow, if you see, here it is. Data has been loaded from FlatFile into DS, which is the data source, and from data source I'm taking the data into my DSO. So just to check the flow of data in your system, this is how you can do this check. Now once the data has been loaded successfully, we can do all these checks, and we have cross-checked whether the data has been loaded into DSO. It was loaded successfully, and so till now we have uploaded the data from a FlatFile and we have uploaded into a DSO. We will term this particular data load as full data upload because we have provided the entire transactional data from a sheet to a DSO. Right? So with this we have completed the process of uploading data from a FlatFile, which is a full data upload, into our DSO, which is data storage object, formerly called as operational data store. As I told you before, now I would like to differentiate between a full data upload and a full upload and a delta upload. Now in the Excel sheet, if you see, we have a transactional data for 5 employee IDs. We have uploaded the same data. Now consider the same employee comes again the next day and take 10 more hours of classes and they are going to earn 1,000 more rupees of salary. In that case, I have to again update the DSO with my updated number of hours and salary, which is going to be a plus of 10 for number of hours and a plus of 1,000 for salary. So this update, what I am trying to do the next time after the initial load will be my delta load. So the initial load, whatever I have do to the system through DSO, is going to be my initial full data upload, and the subsequent changes whatever I make to the particular DSO, it's going to be my delta load. Hope I was very clear with this particular point, because this particular point is going to be very important. That's the main difference actually with a full load and a delta load. I think you are clear till this point, right? Now, being known about the difference between the full data upload and the delta upload, now I will show you practically how it's done. What are all the steps we must do and what are all the steps that we must avoid. Initially, whatever steps I have done, info area creation and the catalog creation, all those steps can be avoided because we are going to update our existing DSO. So for the existing DSO, all these would have been already be present. So we are going to update an existing DSO. So definitely the DSO application component all will be already present. All we need to do is just create an info package and just create an info package, and through that we have to update. We have to make our delta load. So moving on, I will be explaining all these practically. Now go to your source system, info provider, go to your info provider, go to the DSO and check the display data. So select all the fields and execute, and you can see the data. Just for reference, just see the data. What's the data here? Employee ID 1, and he is earning a 5,000 salary with 50 number of hours of work. And these all are the subsequent rows. Subsequent rows which are present, they are just for indexes. They will be present only for your key fields and not for your number of hours of salary. They will be present only for your non-changing fields, right? And they are just for indexing, system generated indexes. Just avoid that. Just have a look of the salary, number of hours. Just have a look of it so that after updating you can find the difference. So this is the file that I am going to update now. If you see, I have increased the number of hours of salary at 10 for each and every employee, and number of hours I have increased as 10 and salary I have increased as 1000 for each and every employee. So this is like updated data, and I am going to update it with this table. Just have a cross check with the number of hours and salary in this database, and have a cross check with number of hours and salary from the file. Just have a look of the database. Now let's come back, right? So just now you have seen the data of the DSO, whichever is present, and this is the Excel sheet that I am going to update now. So once you are done, just go to the data source itself. All you need to do is select the data source. Here is the data source. So right click it and create an info package. All the steps before that we need to avoid, right? So we need to just create the info package for it. So provide ZDSO underscore D, which means delta update underscore info package IP. Continue. So just have a check so that all the preliminary steps are fine. Yes, it's okay. Extraction, just have a check. Here what you need to do, you just need to change the file name, right? Because we are going to do a delta load. Just go to the same file, update which has the updated data, do a delta load, and remaining all remains the same since we have already done the DSO update just now. Update, full load, and schedule, and start it. So with this, we have just requested for the data. So we are moving the data into the data source, right? And we are moved it into the PSA table, right? So once the data is present in the PSA table, now all that we need to do is proceed with the further steps. The remaining all steps from here on will remain the same. Just what we did as for DSO, the initial full upload, right? Full data load. Whatever steps we have done, the same steps we have to do again for this delta load. So we have successfully created a info package where we have loaded the delta load from the file into the data source and subsequently to the PSA persistent staging area, since no data can escape PSA in BI. So far we are done with this, right? So now what we need to do? So I think my cursor is stuck. Now I'm able to move. Okay. So we have got the green signal here. Data was requested. So which means we are good till now. Now go to the source system. Just have a check about the FlatFile. We are going to just keep all these preliminary data is going to be same now. So now I'll just go to the same DSO, right? So this was the DSO before which we need to provide our delta load. So we have already created, and initially we have already created an info package. Now this is like we are just checking on the transformation and other things which we have done for full upload. It all remains the same. All we need to do is now just create another data transfer process, because we have already loaded the data into the PSA table. So all that we need to do now is create another data transfer process. So here transformation is not required since data source was already present there. Data source was already present, and here the info package whatever we have created as is, you can see it already available here in this data source. So now it's kind of we have 3 info packages, right? So I have already loaded before another one more info package which I have loaded just for test purpose. So need not get confused with that. The one we have created now is D underscore info package. Okay. So now go to the data transfer process and just create a data transfer process, and all these values remain same. Here transformation is not required. Remember that point. So now the extraction mode, it's going to be delta. It's not full upload because we are just updating the DSO with the latest value. So update, I always prefer 2 as I told you before. So update it with 2. Select that, and now proceed with your these things please do not bother. It's just my own system configuration error. You may not consider that. Execute, and you know what to do. Just proceed to activate it. So once you have activated it, yes, you can continue and just execute it in background. So once you have executed it, you will get a green signal. Yeah. Here you find 15 data records, data package 1 and 15 data records. Okay, I will tell you why you have got 15 data records. Okay, I will explain these things later. But now, data has been loaded successfully, right? And it has transformation has been already happened. So we just did data transfer process. Since just we are doing a data load, we just did data transfer process. So once the data transfer process is done, now right click on the DSO. The concerned DSO, you can just right click on it. Since the steps will now is fine, we can right click and we can display the data now. Display the data. So you know, just select all the fields for selection and execute it. Select all the fields, execute. So now you see only 5 records are there, right? Till now, the updated data didn't get updated. Why? You know, because initially all the data will go to new data. Later on activation only it will go to active data. And in DSO you can always see active data. You can see 2 records here, 276 and 282. 276 was the first one that we performed and 282 was the latest one. Now if you see the new data, okay, now you can check the entries, right? Go and check in the new data, you will have 5 entries because these 5 entries correspond to the latest entries that we uploaded. See, if you check the entry, see, it's 60, 50, number of hours and salary has got incremented, right? They have got incremented by 20% respectively. So this is the one that we have updated recently. Now if you go and check the data and the active data, you will have the old entries because we have not activated it. Still the same 5 entries are here. So see, 50, 40. They always has the previous entries. They don't have the latest value, right? So you can see that has been proof for that. Now if you go to change log, okay, you can also check similarly. You can also check the change log. They will also have the same number of entries. Now what I do, we have already checked it. Now what we will do, go to request tab, select the request which is responsible for the latest load, the delta load, right? And once we have selected the request which is responsible for this delta load, activate it. So we are dragging the request to your screen and select that and start. So once we have started, the data will start flowing from a new data table into active data table. Keep on refreshing so that the request goes. Now the request is gone. So the transfer is completed and successful, hopefully, which we can confirm by seeing the entries. Now check the new data. We should not have any entries. Yes, we don't have any entries. Now get back, go to the active data and check for the number of entries. We have the same 5 entries. See, there was no duplication. It has just updated the same entry, right? So that's where we always put the data into new and active. You can see the values. It's same, number of hours and salary. So that's where you put the data first into new and then it goes to active flag. Now check the change log entries. You have 15. I told you and explained this. Why we have got 15 data records. I will tell you. Now if you see the entries of it, you can see the first 5 are the load that has been made earlier. The next 10 entries happen because, and here the N means it's new entry. When it is yes, it means that it's an old value, and when it stays, it means that it's obtained the new value. 50 to 60, 40 to 50, 30 to 40, 20 to 30, 10 to 20. Similarly, 1000 to 2000, the salary also got updated. So these constitute the extra 10 entries. So in total, we have 15 entries. Okay. So this will explain why we got 15 entries there during our confirmation. So with this, our full data upload and our delta upload was successful. Hopefully I think all of you got what you want. You can also display the data now in DSO. Just go for field for selection, select all. Now you should have all the latest entries. Here we have 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Yes, we have all the entries. Done. So this was the entries that we are supposed to do in delta upload. So we have done it, and hopefully I think you all understood both what's the full data upload, what's the delta upload. I hope you're clear with the concept, your difference between the full data load and delta load. And this is what we do for updating a data file from a FlatFile. Updating a data from a FlatFile and make it into a full load into a DSO, and the corresponding delta load. Both are being done in this way. So hope you are clear with this. Now, being done with our delta load update and the full load update, now I will tell you how to push this data from a DSO into an InfoCube. Right? So there are, as you know, this InfoCube and DSO are kind of info providers. So now I'm going to demonstrate on how to push this data from this DSO into this InfoCube. Since the data, whatever data we are going to push from DSO to InfoCube, it's under a certain info area. Now I'm going to create an InfoCube in the same info area, so that all the preceding steps that needs to be done until the creation of InfoCube, like creation of info area, all those things can be avoided. Right? So I'll just display the data once again to you. So it will be having the updated data. Yes, so it's having the updated data. Now once I have updated the data, I'm going to push this updated data into InfoCube. I hope you all know what these fields mean. These are all just indexes that are created by the system, and these two fields are the C0 fields. Okay. Now when I create my InfoCube, I will create my catalog and all those things, because I'm going to create my InfoCube under the same info area. So now the process of pushing in data from DSO to InfoCube is very simple, because most of the steps has already been covered. It's similar to the delta upload, with the only difference of I'm just creating a new info provider at this stage. Whereas in that case, and I have just uploaded the file in delta load, I have uploaded the file and then updated and then performed the data transfer process. Whereas in this case, I no need to upload any data from my system, because I am already taking the existing data in the system, in the DSO. I am going to push the data from my DSO into my InfoCube. So this process is quite simple compared to the other two steps that we have seen before, the full data load and delta load. Right? So so go to the particular info area, the same info area. I also explained you the reason I'm selecting in the same info area, just to avoid complexity. Just to avoid the previous steps, the steps what we have done before creation of DSO, the creation of info area and the catalog and all those steps. Just to overcome all those steps, I'm just going to create my InfoCube in the same info area. Right? So my mouse is stuck, I think so. Again, apologies. Yeah, so we have to select the info area. We are in the same page. So all we need to do now is right click on the info area which we have created, and select the option of creating an InfoCube. Right? Now provide the name. So we have been following the standard prefix, GDSO right through this experiment. So I'll provide GDSO underscore InfoCube, and I'll provide the same in the description. So create it. This is similar to the DSO creation. And now here again the catalog that I have already prepared, right? I'm going to use the same catalog. I need not prepare a separate catalog. This is what I told you before. So I'm going to use the same catalog which was existing for the DSO. So I will double click on the characteristic catalog and then key figure catalog and will drag and drop into the corresponding node. So in this case, first I will select info object characteristics catalog, right? So that's the first one. Double click on the particular catalog, the first catalog. So once you double click, you can get all the fields related to that particular catalog in the display here. So I'll double click it. Yeah, here we got all the characteristics. Just drag and drop the field to the dimensions node. Beneath the dimensions folder, there is a node called dimensions. Just drag and drop all the characteristic fields to the dimensions. Drag and drop it. So once you have dragged and dropped, now go to the next catalog, which is for key figures. So go to the key figures, expand the key figure folder. So drag and drop the number of hours and salary into key figure folder, which is beneath. Yes, here it is. So drag and drop the key figures. Yes, we are done. So try to activate your InfoCube. So yes, we have activated the InfoCube. Now you can see the InfoCube icon. So from this process, you will be taking the same steps that we have done for DSO updation, DSO initial full updation. So right click, create transformation. Now the object type here is going to be, yes, you guessed it right, it's going to be not data source, it's going to be data storage object, data store object. Okay? Because we are going to load the data from a data store object, not from a data source this time. So that's why I am going to load the data from a data store object. Okay? So once I have selected the data store object, I have to give the name of the data store object. So it was DSO. Let me take from the system. I'll use the F4 help. Yeah, it is first filled automatically. Unfortunately, they have only one DSO under first name. So I will continue with this. So during transformation, when I continue, you can find the fields are already matched because all the data that I'm going to push are already in the system. My InfoCube is already connected to the data source, DSO, and I have created a same template, so the fields get mapped automatically. We need not do any external mapping. So our fields have got mapped automatically. You can always check whether the fields have got mapped. So you can cross check data department ID as mapped with department ID, employment ID as mapped with the employment ID, all those things. Once you have checked all this and you are sure about the mapping, you can activate it. So you should get a successful activation, and I'm very confident on that. We will get a successful activation here. So yes, it's green. We have activated it successfully. Now you know what to do. Create the data capture process. Now check on the value and just continue. So you know it will be grayed out in the first instance, activated, make it enabled, and then execute it. So once you have executed, you will get a warning. Continue with it. Proceed with it. Yeah, here you got it. 5 records. The 5 updated records from the DSO has been moved into an InfoCube. You can also check the InfoCube, go and display data. So select all the fields for selection, select all, execute, here it is. Here is the data. And the subsequent columns or the indexing columns, you will be well aware of that. The record series also can be seen here. So once the data has been moved into the InfoCube, now you can do the other checks what we have done earlier for the DSO. So hope I was clear in explaining all these 3 concepts: the full data load, the delta load into DSO, and then the corresponding moving of data from the DSO into the InfoCube. You can also create a separate InfoCube in a different info area. For that, you have to do all the previous steps like creation of characteristics, catalog for characteristics, and catalog for your key figures. Hope you are all very clear about these 3 concepts, and I have explained it. You can also do all the preliminary checks that we have done for DSO during full load and delta load. So this is how. I'll just repeat the flow once again. You got the data from a FlatFile, you got the data into a DSO, then updated it, delta, and one thing you can also do is you can display the data flow of the InfoCube now. Right, we have done it earlier. You can also do this. Just go and display the data flow of it. Yeah, here it is. See, this is what I was telling. From FlatFile to the data storage object, the data source, and from data source it has been moved into data storage object. And then we have also done the delta load, which will overlay on this three steps. Then again from data storage object it has been moved into InfoCube. So this explains you the full data flow from a FlatFile into the InfoCube. Right? So moving the data into our InfoCube was our requirement. So we have done three different sets of work here. One is moving the data from a FlatFile into DSO. It's a full upload, and then I have done the delta upload, and then after that I have done movement of data from your DSO into the InfoCube. So that's it, folks. I hope you have a very clear understanding on these three concepts, and hope it's very useful for the beginners. Thank you for your patience. Have a good day. Bye bye.